Hey folks, how you doing? Dave McRae here. Okay, in this video, there's a few things I want to talk about. But before I do, I just want to say this. For all of you out there who get in touch with me on a semi or regular basis and ask me, Dave, have you seen this? Have you seen that? What do you think of this? Are you aware of this? I want you guys to know that I appreciate it. I appreciate your passion and your enthusiasm. But I want you guys to know that 9.9 times out of 10, I have. I've seen it. I've read about it. I'm very up on what's going on in the entertainment industry for obvious reasons. And I'm very up on what's going on with the Halloween film for obvious reasons. Just because you don't see me doing a video on it doesn't mean that I'm not aware of it. It probably means that I don't really deem it newsworthy. Not everything is newsworthy. Sometimes it's like, well, yeah, that could be newsworthy, but I'm going to wait until I get some more information about that. Or I'm going to wait until something else drops beside that before I break out the camera and start talking about it because, yeah, it's not quite where I want it to be right now. I'm not a movie pundit. I'm not a formal movie reviewer. I don't review movies. I don't talk about everything and anything, right? Because I'm more about quality over quantity. If you're new to my channel, then I have to tell that to you. If you're not new to my channel, you already know that. But for new subscribers or people watching this video who have not watched me before, that's what I'm about. So it's not unprecedented for 4 or 5 days or a week to go by where you don't hear from me. That's not because I'm snoozing and I'm not aware of what's going on. It's just because I want to wait until I'm like, oh yeah, now that I'm going to talk about, because I always like to come at it with some perspective and some context, right? And that's the value that I think I bring because of my experience and knowledge of working in the industry. So that's sort of, I think that's what you guys deserve, right? I love you guys. I think that's what you guys deserve. You don't want me just, hey, sometimes I like to have a lot of fun, right? Like the pet peeves video that I uploaded, a couple of days ago. Yeah, I like to have some fun too, and I'll probably do some more of those. But at the end of the day, I like to, really kind of, be concise and tight. Anyway, even though I tend to babble like right now. So, okay, so let's talk about this. So, first of all, the fine folks over at HalloweeDailyNews.com have been doing a tremendous job over the last month. I mean, they always do a great job, but especially over the last month, they have been doing some articles and some interviews with some people attached or affiliated with the new Halloween film coming out this October the 19th, 2018. The first article, I believe, was with Nick Castle, followed up by one with Sean Clark, followed up by one with James Jude Courtney, and then followed up by one with Christopher Nelson just a few days ago. Now, for those of you who don't know who Christopher Nelson is, he's a special effects makeup artist. I believe he won an Academy Award for Suicide Squad. So that's totally awesome, right? And he is involved in this new Halloween film. He's the makeup effects artist on this new Halloween film, and he was hired and in charge of creating the new Michael Myers mask. Okay? And he probably made about 2 or 3 of them, I would imagine, but he was in charge of doing that. And about 2 or 3 days ago, or whatever it was, HalloweeDailyNews.com released their in-depth, very long interview with Christopher Nelson. And it's great shit. Like if you're a big Halloween fan, you love this kind of stuff. They're great reads. But something I noticed today, which was interesting, is that I went to HalloweeDailyNews.com to search for that article because I wanted to confirm something that I had read at the beginning of the article, something that Christopher Nelson had said about his career or something. I forget what it was now. There was something I wanted to confirm. It had nothing to do with Michael Myers. And anyway, so I go to HalloweeDailyNews.com and I look for the article and I can't find it. So I Google Christopher Nelson Halloween Daily News. There it is in the search. I click on it, and this is what comes up. So as you can see, the page is not found. Oops, that page can't be found. It looks like nothing was found at this location. Try the search below, which I did. I typed in Christopher Nelson, and an older article comes up from about the 27th of December, I believe it is, talking about how he was just hired to, in fact, create the new mask for the new movie. But nothing in regards to the article that was posted just a few days ago. So I suspect what happened was those involved in the new Halloween movie got in touch with those over at Halloween Daily News HalloweeDailyNews.com, and hopefully politely, of course, requested that they take the article down because the little bit in the article where Christopher Nelson is talking about the Michael Myers mask and where his mindset was when creating this new mask and, all the information surrounding that was just a little bit more information than they wanted to release at this time. Now, the information was not detrimental to the overall narrative and plot. It wasn't, a huge deal in the big picture. But when you read it or when you look at what he's saying, you certainly can see how it might just be a little too much information too soon right now. Now, I'll explain more about what I mean by that and how they may have come to, the conclusion that, yeah, this is probably a little too much too soon, even though it's not really a big deal in the big picture, in just a little bit. So sit tight. Now, you can still find the article on movieweb.com, not the full article, but you can find just the two little blurbs where Christopher Nelson talks about the Michael Myers mask. Now, the reason why it's probably still up at MovieWeb but taken down at HalloweeDailyNews.com is because Halloween Daily News is the original source of the article, and they felt that, well, let's go to the source to sort of stop the bleeding. They certainly don't want other websites to pick up the article and other bits of information from that article potentially to spread elsewhere on their blogs and posts all over the internet. So that is what I'm suspecting has happened here. When I first read the article a few days ago, I thought to myself, first of all, great article, but when Christopher Nelson began talking about the Michael Myers mask, I had two thoughts. The first thought was, oh, that's exactly what I predicted a month ago or so in my predictions video that I uploaded. And if you guys haven't checked that out, you can check it out. It's on my channel. I think we're approaching or just crossed 12,000 views, which is great on that particular video. And, I go into about what I want to see, what I think they should do, what I think they need to do. And then I go into my predictions of what I think they are potentially going to do based on the information we had thus far at that point. Information can change all the time, but, based on that moment, that point, a month ago. And there was a portion where I talked about the Michael Myers mask and what I think it's likely they're going to do. And it pretty much coincides exactly with what Christopher Nelson said in this article. So let's first talk about what he said in this article. This is what Christopher Nelson said, because the interview, or the Michael Myers portion of the interview where he talks about the mask, can still be found on the website movieweb.com. And this is from movieweb.com. This is what Christopher Nelson said. The film takes place 40 years later, so you're not going to have that same mask. It's not going to be this pristine, beautiful thing that it was in 1978. You have to approach it from that standpoint. I had 40-year-old masks that I studied and looked at how they broke down, how they wrinkled, how they did this and how they did that. I also took into account the context of the film. Where is the mask now, and where has it been for these 40 years? Without revealing anything, I took that into context. I had hundreds of photos and books. So again, that pretty much sounds like exactly what I predicted about a month or so ago, because this is what I said. I think it's going to be the same mask. It's supposed to be the same mask from 78 that maybe has been locked up in an evidence locker, for 40 years, right? So maybe it looks a bit worn, maybe a bit yellow, a bit faded, but it's not decaying. It's not falling apart. It's nothing like that. It just looks a bit older, right? Dustier, worn, weathered, in a locker for 40 years. So, as you can see, if we are to take Christopher Nelson at his word and at verbatim here with what he is basically saying, it looks like I've hit the nail pretty much on the head. Now, I don't necessarily think that the, being locked up in an evidence locker portion of my prediction or theory is necessarily also going to come true. That was just me trying to speculate on what are some options or ideas of, where this mask may have been for the last 40 years, if in fact they are going to use the original mask. Not literally the same mask, but, but within the story, it's supposed to be the same mask from 1978. If the reason that that article no longer exists on HalloweeDailyNews.com is because somebody involved in the production asked them to take it down because of that reason, I think what bothers them is it's not that it's this massive reveal or this huge plot point, that gives all this intricate, detailed information about the overall narrative. It's just that it does sort of give a little bit of insight in the potentiality of maybe where the character of Michael Myers has been. Because what you can start to do with that information when you know that, okay, it is the original mask, then you can start to piece things together. Well, like, oh, so, okay, he's either been missing for 40 years, which is kind of silly in some ways, but who knows, right? I mean, I think they don't want to deal with the barrage of questions that does bring up from hardcore fans who are going to ask that. Well, what do you mean he's just, how is he eating? How is he shitting? No one has seen him. Has he changed his clothes? How is he shaving? I mean, all this kind of shit, right? And I don't think they want to worry about that. So I've always thought that they're going to go the route of potentially he's going to get captured or, and that sort of, that's the kind of, bit of a difference that ending to the original Halloween might have. Listen, I've never thought that they're actually going to change the physical ending of the original Halloween. I still believe that he's going to be shot 6 times, fall off the balcony, Dr. Loomis is going to look over, and Michael Myers is going to be gone. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to say, was the boogeyman? And Dr. Loomis is going to say, as a matter of fact, it was. And he's, all that is going to stay intact. But I do think what happens after that could potentially change. So there might be a bit of an extension. Maybe this new movie is going to open with a bit of an extension of that final scene in the original. But I don't think they're actually going to physically change the ending of John Carpenter's classic where, instead of being shot off the balcony, he's shot in the hallway and he falls down the stairs and Dr. Loomis picks up, a knife and that shit's not going to happen. I can almost guarantee you that's not going to happen. Now, there was one other part of that interview with Christopher Nelson. And like I said, it's still up at movieweb.com. At least the Michael Myers bits are, not the entire interview, which I also found really interesting, and it makes me really excited. And it gives me hope that they really truly do understand how to utilize the shape. And this is what Christopher Nelson said. I wanted to create the character of Michael Myers, not just the mask. You're not creating just the mask. You're creating a character. You're creating a feeling that you get that does have an expression. The mask does have an expression, but also the mask looks completely different in every single angle it's ever been photographed at. And I wanted that feeling too. I wanted the feeling that when you saw Michael Myers, it morphs, it changes, it looks different from every single angle, like the original one did. I can safely say we accomplished that. So, what do I think of everything that Christopher Nelson just said in this little paragraph here? I could not agree with him more. Christopher, if you're watching, which you probably aren't, but if you are, bang on, man. You are 100% correct. Look, as somebody who has had a wealth of experience playing Michael Myers over the years, and as somebody who is meticulous when it comes to getting the shape right, I can tell you he's bang on. The Michael Myers mask in and of itself is not particularly scary. I mean, it's not that it's not scary, but I'm saying in comparison to what you can do with it, it's not particularly scary in comparison in broad daylight. Okay, or if it's just sitting on your kitchen counter. It doesn't mean it's not, oh, that looks fucking awesome. That looks really cool. Oh my God. But you have to have an understanding of how to shoot the mask. When you have that understanding of how to shoot it, the camera angles to choose, the lighting to choose, what to do in post-production, all those things that come with understanding how to shoot the mask of Michael Myers to give it that 1978 John Carpenter feel, it can be a beautiful thing. When you don't understand that, and you just think that all I have to do is put a mask on the guy and just shoot him, oh my God, it can be a total disaster. So Christopher Nelson is 100% correct. And that's what I've always tried to do in my Halloween fan films, especially in my most recent one, Halloween the Night He Came Back. When you look at how I lit Michael Myers, which is me, of course, I worked very closely with my DP and with my grips to make sure that we were doing exactly what I knew needed to be done to achieve that 1978 Michael Myers vibe. And I think we accomplished that for the most part. So Christopher Nelson, he has an understanding of that. He's saying all the right things. Now, does that mean you're going to love the movie? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean you're going to love The Mask? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean you're going to love James Jude Courtney's portrayal of The Shape? No, it doesn't mean that either. But when I hear things like this, I'm like, yes, because how you shoot Michael Myers, how you light Michael Myers, and what you do with the footage in post-production is very specific. So when I hear this kind of information coming from the horse's mouth, so to speak, the, makeup effects guy who created The Mask and who is essentially directing James Jude Courtney on set, I'm like, yes, that makes me feel a bit better. Because it's so, look at some of the sequels that just didn't understand that. They just didn't get it. Not all of them, okay? Some of them did an okay job, but some of them were garbage beyond belief. Garbage beyond belief. Because they didn't understand the nuances that make up what The Shape was. So Christopher, bang on for that. Now, what do I think about this idea of The Mask being the original, potentially, okay, this is what it looks like he's saying, potentially the original Mask from 1978? Well, I love it. I think it's great. It's what I predicted in my video. I love the idea, okay? I can't speak on whether or not I'm going to like how The Mask looks because I haven't seen it yet. So I, like you, will see The Mask when it is revealed in, over the next coming weeks and months. And I don't know if I'm going to like it when I see it, but do I like the idea in principle that they are going back to the roots of the original Mask in terms of how it looks? Yeah, and what you're probably going to get is you're probably going to get a mask that is weathered, a mask that looks older, a mask that is 40 years older. But I don't think the mask is going to be disheveled and decrepit and, it's going to be a mere memory of what it looked like in 1978. No, they're not going to do that. Of course they're not going to do that. You're going to look at it and hopefully think to yourself, yes, that's Michael Myers. Yes, okay, it's older, it's got some cracks here, it's got some weathering there, it's got a bit of a tear there, but that's the Michael Myers mask from 1978. And if Christopher Nelson is to be taken at his word, and if he is the huge Halloween fan that he claims to be, and if he truly does understand those tiny details and nuances, then yeah, I think they're going to deliver. But it doesn't mean everybody's going to like it. You can't please everybody. Go back to that Ricky Nelson song, Garden Party, right? You can't please everybody, so you gotta please yourself. At the end of the day, folks, have your expectations in control. Okay, you're never going to capture the magic of the 1978 original. It's not going to happen. It's 2018. But what you can do is capture a new magic. It's like if you have a pet, right? If you have a dog or a cat, if you have a dog, they'll probably live, 10 to 12 years. If you have a cat, they'll probably live, 15 to 18 years. And, we love our pets so much. And over the years, we realize that, they have their own little personalities, their own little quirks, and we share a very specific bond with them. Maybe we give them, a specific nickname, or there's, certain behavioral patterns that we come to know and love. And, they have their own identity. And when they die, we cannot possibly imagine, replacing that pet. But at the end of the day, you don't go out to, adopt another animal to replace that animal in terms of, exactly the same way. You come to expect that you're going to have a new bond, a different kind of bond with different kinds of quirks and different kind of personality and different kind of nicknames and, scenarios and behavioral patterns that over the years will become just as satisfying, just as loving, just as amazing, but in a different kind of way. Well, the same kind of thing has to happen here with these two Halloween movies, right? Yes, it's going to check off nostalgia boxes. Yes, it's going to check off certain things that we can know and come to expect from a Halloween movie that is supposedly, doing it the way quote unquote, John did it, right? As they've been saying, 1,000 times with this new Halloween film. And yes, this is probably going to be the most Halloween feeling Halloween movie we've ever had since the 1978 original, and certainly since the 1981 sequel. But the comparisons between the two, your expectations have to be really in check. If it's really good, and if it checks off those boxes, and it's really well done, and they hit all the points, we're still not going to have the same kind of relationship that we had with John Carpenter's classic. We're going to have a new relationship that maybe now, just as satisfying, just as rewarding, potentially, but it's going to be different. And we have to come to expect that. We don't go into the movie expecting John Carpenter's 1978 classic. We have to go in expecting a newer film that hopefully will do justice to the original and something that we can be proud, that they can be proud of as filmmakers, and all of you can be proud of as fans. And that's what you have to go into it expecting. Anyways, folks, my name's Dave McRae. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can at facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. McRae is MCRAE. Facebook.com/manythingsdavemcrae. That's where you can follow me. In the meantime and in between time, when I am not posting here, that's where I tend to post. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Are you worried about the mask? Are you concerned about it? Let me know. I would love to know. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.